Caitlin Clark's ailment is the reason for this time. It's Caitlin Clark's relationship with the individuals assigned to her at risk of deteriorating. Stephanie White stated yesterday that there isn't a deadline. Clark is currently meeting with her own physicians. By the way, Kayla Clark will consider visiting a doctor, essentially suggesting that she will choose her own physician. This is Kayon Clark's third serious injury to her lower body. Caitlin Clark recently took a risk by leaving the Fever's medical team to visit her own physicians. Why is Clark now meeting with her own physicians? That is not at all her fault. Clark has lost faith in the way the league is treating her, so she will consider visiting a doctor, essentially implying that she will be getting her own physician. This extends beyond wounds. It has to do with pressure, trust, and pushing a superstar too far. Put a 100% for Caitlin in the comments if you agree with her. Listen to the WNBA. The pressure from the front office, fans, and a league that depends on her star power has caused her to lose a lot of faith in the Indiana Fever regime. The body's attempt to preserve the weak left side overloads the right side until it fails. There are more than a few scrapes and bruises here. No rookie, much less a generational talent, should ever have to deal with the cycle of injury and re-injury that Caitlin Clark has been caught in during their first season of professional play. After only a few months of playing professional basketball, Caitlin Clark is currently coping with her third serious lower body injury. At this point, it appears that there is a trend which raises legitimate concerns about whether the team's strategy goes beyond simply treating a muscle. It has to do with a career. Conservation. A player who could define the Fever for 10 years was a blessing for the team's generational autonomy. Let's examine the chronology. On May 26th, I suffered a left quad injury, and on July 5th, I strained my left groin. She pulled her right groin on July 15th, right after she got back. And the history of Caitlin Clark's injuries. Left quad screen on May 26th, July 5th, and missed all of the All-Star celebrations due to a right-left groin screen during Indiana's 8-5-7-7 victory over the Sun on July 15th. In a matter of weeks, she sustained 3 lower body injuries on the same side, and the injuries worsened every time she returned. It's not unlucky. It's a red flag, a pattern. That isn't arbitrary. It might be a classic indication of a broken body in sports under stress, where a compensation from one harm directly leads to another. This is more than a run of poor luck. This pattern appears to be a huge warning sign. Caitlin Clark never missed a game in high school or college, which is even more concerning. She had a reputation for being strong and resilient. She was the unstoppable engine. She has also missed 11 of her first 23 WNBA games in the first few months of her debut season. It is almost half of the season. She was sidelined for 11 of her first 23 games this season after never missing a game, either her collegiate or professional career. After looking over her injury history, doctors are becoming really concerned. One person referred to it as a cascade breakdown in which a damage triggers bodily compensations, which in turn trigger more injuries. Sports medicine textbook. The body transfers tension to another muscle group when one is injured, and you break again if you're hurried back before you've healed completely. And Caitlin is experiencing precisely that. Caitlin Clark will consider visiting a doctor, essentially suggesting that she will find her own medical professionals, my friend. And that's what's appropriate for Caitlin to do so, as Indiana Fever is currently unreliable. She has been suffering from these kinds of injuries, and it is not typical for her to have such back-to-back strains. The fact that the team continued to refer to her situation as day-to-day is even more unsettling. Physicians, however, disagreed. Numerous specialists attested to the fact that groin strains, particularly those that occur repeatedly on both sides, never occur on a daily basis. They need specialist rehabilitation and are week to week, occasionally month to month. So why was it being minimized by the organization? The team was essentially informed by Caitlin Clark that she was considering seeking a second opinion. All of this daily life is only for the birds. According to the doctors themselves, Caitlin Clark will be treated on a week-to-week basis in the MRI, even though her body wasn't ready. Was the objective simply to get her back on the court as quickly as possible? Additionally, the body overworks the right side until it fails in an attempt to defend the weak left side. Therefore, in high-level athletics, this is not a secret. This is the foundation of sports medicine. Fans were assured that everything was under control, but given Clark's sharp decline, frequent absences, and current medical care otherwise. Although caution is the public narrative, the player is actually being mistreated medically and physically. Clark is currently meeting with her own physicians. By the way, that is not at all her fault. Does she no longer have much faith in the Indiana Fever regime? Or is it just me? And losing games isn't the only issue. It involves jeopardizing her future. In addition to missing the season, Caitlin is putting her entire career at danger. If her injuries are not appropriately handled and the underlying causes are not addressed. This goes beyond simply treating a muscle. It has to do with protecting one's career. A well-known athlete seeking a second opinion is a sign that something is amiss. However, when that athlete is Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's most valued player, the league's spokesperson and its top viewer, she chooses to avoid the medical staff of the Indiana Fever will confer with outside physicians in New York. It conveys a message on the floor. They are rolling around. It's jump balls, you know? I overheard these things. Despite my ability to cover both men's and women's basketball, I was ridiculed for advocating for coverage of women's basketball. Correct? Clark stated in an event. During All-Star Weekend per Glamour, you must truly look after your body and mind. As a professional player, it has been a quest to discover that. A statement loud enough to be heard throughout the league. Caitlin Clark no longer trusts the system that was meant to keep her safe. Clark is currently meeting with her own physicians. By the way, I don't hold her accountable for it. Not at all. Does she no longer have much faith in the Indiana Fever regime? Or is it just me? Consider that. Behind the scenes, Caitlin didn't rehab in silence. She traveled with the squad to meet with independent experts outside of Indiana, not to play. And even though head coach Stephanie White made an effort to ignore reporters' queries, her body language was quite clear, reticent, agitated, and obviously avoiding the subject. White's only response when asked directly about Clark's health at her doctor's appointments was, "I haven't spoken to the trainers yet. No timetable, no clarity, no answers." Caitlin Clark has expressed her dislike for Indiana Fever and other illnesses, but it is evident that she no longer has faith in them. There isn't any trust between Caitlin. To be absolutely certain that she needs an additional 2 months. She needs 3 to 4 weeks to ensure she doesn't get hurt again. We're not medical professionals. We don't know. The truth was coming to light behind the scenes. Several sources claim that Caitlin told the team she was going to seek a second opinion. And you can tell everything from that. She no longer believed that the Fever was looking out for her best interests. She left the premises without the team trainer's supervision. When their team doctors fail them, elite athletes take such action. The team was essentially informed by Caitlin Clark that she was considering seeking a second opinion. Caitlin Clark will consider visiting a doctor, essentially implying that she will get her own physician. Caitlin made the correct decision because Indiana Fever is currently unreliable. Furthermore, you don't do that for a small strain. When you're afraid that something more serious is happening, you do it. When the explanations don't add up, when your body doesn't feel right, and when injuries keep piling up. It's not typical for her to sustain these kinds of injuries, and the manner she's been experiencing them is not typical back-to-back in this manner. To put it bluntly, Clark has had 3 injuries in less than 2 months, and each time she came back too quickly, she broke again. medical professionals validated the fans' suspicions. Her recuperation has been handled by the Fever in a severely wrong way. Even worse, one physician declared, "Whatever the medical staff is doing right now is not enough." Another likened her situation to a bike to tires that are flat. It will crash even though it can move. After only a few months of playing professional basketball, Caitlin Clark is currently coping with her third serious lower body injury. She was sidelined for 11 of her first 23 games this season after never missing a game either her collegiate or professional career. This is more than a run of poor luck. This appears to be a trend at this stage, and it's causing legitimate concerns regarding the team's methodology. Furthermore, although the Fever continued to give fans hope for the future, real experts were describing it as a week-to-week minimum and cautioning that these groin strains, particularly on both sides, heal slowly and are prone to re-injury. The first one on the left side, returning after the quad day today, is not appropriate for even a mild groin strain, as we discussed. The primary issue was that the Fever appeared more interested in putting her back on the court for playoff prospects and ticket sales rather than allowing her the time and attention she needs to heal completely. Clark was made to carry the load even when she wasn't at her best and forced into an offensive scheme that didn't play to her abilities. As a result, her body repeatedly broke down. The new strain in the groin is not common. In the three-point competition, she is already missing the All-Star game. How much more is the question? We won't know until we learn the previously undisclosed imaging details. But it's not day-to-day anyway. This is neglect, not merely poor management. Imagine being 22 years old, bearing the burden of a league, and discovering that the very individuals entrusted with safeguarding your health may be putting their own financial interests ahead of your long-term prospects. Caitlin is now there, isolated, irritated, and at last taking charge of her own professional life. Furthermore, this goes beyond simply treating a muscle, has to do with protecting one's career. And her decision to consult her own doctors isn't just about pain when you watch your body deteriorating in a predictable cascade pattern, and the answer doesn't seem to be preventing it. It has to do with trust. It's challenging to regain that trust when it's been damaged, particularly when the organization doesn't admit what went wrong. The organization acknowledged that Clark will be seeing more doctors for additional evaluation in the wake of this most recent injury. That is common protocol on its own, but when combined with a history of related injuries, it has raised concerns about whether Clark and her staff are obtaining independent medical advice. Let us clarify what that would entail. Additionally, let's act as though professional sports are like this. When a franchise rookie in the NBA or NFL has several lower body injuries in quick succession, there are thorough investigations, medical staff rotations, and a halt to return schedules. However, Caitlin Clark was accompanied by obfuscation, a hurried timeline, ambiguous updates, and quiet. Who would have taken charge of Caitlin's own healing if she hadn't? You simply don't observe similar situations in the NFL and NBA after recovering from an injury. Players get hurt again after 2 or 3 games. Things like this don't actually occur, and subsequently sustain the same kind of dreadful harm. Was the Fever's responsibility to safeguard their greatest asset? Instead, they placed her in a situation where, in order to feel safe, she had to leave their care completely. That alone demonstrates that there is more to this story than a sore leg. A superstar is battling for her own future in this story. Let us clarify what that would entail. A well-known athlete rarely seeks medical advice from outside the organization until they are beginning to doubt the individuals currently managing their health, which is frequently interpreted as a silent vote of no confidence. Additionally, the Fever appeared to be gone now that she was sidelined because Caitlin Clark is not merely a player. The squad has fans, airtime, and a spotlight because of her, and they're seeing her disappear. Clark's presence on the court at 12 and 12 is absolutely necessary for the Fever. They've had trouble keeping up the momentum in their favor. Take a look at this. Indiana is 8 as well. When Clark is benched, the team scores 9 points less per 100 possessions. Caitlin Clark has suffered severe injuries. It's concerning that she doesn't trust the medical team treating the Fever. However, there is something even more terrible below all of that. Something that is not visible in a news release or on an MRI. At this point, the story becomes really unsettling rather than just worrying. You don't need to be a doctor to see the pattern. But it's helpful to comprehend it from a medical standpoint, which I'll explain in a moment. It's the emotional and mental collapse of a celebrity who has been overly concerned too soon. Caitlin Clark was not regarded like a rookie when she first entered the WNBA. She was portrayed as the hero, the ticket vendor, the draw for viewers, the marketing powerhouse, and the person who would bring women's basketball the widespread attention it so richly deserves. Does she no longer have much faith in the Indiana Fever regime? Or is it just me? For Clark, the difficulties brought on by his injuries are exacerbated by the weight that came with becoming one of the WNBA's most well-known players. I obviously enjoy playing basketball, but during this season, it can be overwhelming to have so many people watching you all the time, she said. You're just going game to game to game. Clark raised a more significant point regarding the importance of preserving mental health. She altered the landscape in addition to selling out arenas. Caitlin Clark rose to prominence as the face of primetime TV spots and jersey sales. The league in record time. What, however, did the league and more significantly, the Fever do in exchange? Simple to assume that an athlete or role model you like is always content and has a luxurious life. But that's not always the case. We experience the tough times too, she added, adding that it's crucial to be able to confide in others and let them know you're frustrated or that you're not feeling well during All-Star Weekend. When most rookies would be beaming, Caitlin revealed something chilling. This is the first time I haven't felt like I have a young body. That's not just pain, that's weariness. They gave her malfunctioning systems, bad rotations, no real protection, and a spotlight so hot it began to burn her from the inside out. As a professional athlete, you really have to take care of your body and your mind, she continued, adding that she already feels broken at the age of 22. It has been a quest to discover that. For Caitlin Clark, the star of the Indiana Fever, the 2025 season has taken a toll on her body and mind. For the first time, I don't feel like I have a youthful body that can run and sprint every day, and just the league didn't slow down. The Fever didn't protect her minutes. Her coach, Stephanie White, kept benching her during crucial stretches, even when she was heating up, Clark stated. According to Glamour, during an event during All-Star Weekend, that journey for her has come with more pressure than any rookie should face. You wish to continue shooting. But repeatedly, she would be pulled mid-stride with no rhythm, no flow, and no explanation. These aren't just strategic decisions. They are confidence-stifling, and they convey to a player who already has a lot on her plate. We don't trust you to lead this team. So, not only are you putting that out there for the injury, but also for the absurdity. Occasionally, you choose to simply put her on the bench while she's warming up and getting hot, thinking, oh, we can't have that. Let me get her. Oh, she's leaving the game. What's going on? As Caitlin Clark mentioned over the weekend, if you get hot, you want to. Caitlin is a floor general, a high IQ shooter who thrives in space and movement. But the Fever's offensive scheme doesn't play to her strengths. She's stuck in a rigid motion system with limited off-ball action, poor spacing, and teammates who miss screens. Let's face it, Caitlin isn't just trying to win games. She's trying to survive a system that wasn't designed for her. I'm a little troubled by Caitlin Clark's remarks. We've seen her look extremely mentally exhausted and generally unhappy at times when she's played. She's been asked to do it. I'll create, pass, score, defend. and lead while dealing with injury after injury and media coverage that alternates between praise and criticism nearly every day. Just to be honest, Caitlin Clark deserves better, not just better protection on the court, but better care off it. She gave everything to this league, and I believe that part of that is wearing her down, which should be a major worry for Indiana Fever fans. I think she absolutely hates playing in this system that this coach is running, and I think she's miserable. A lot of people are speculating that Caitlin Clark's injury may be much worse than anticipated. The WNBA needed a hero, the Fever needed a franchise player, and the fans just wanted to watch her shine. It's impressive. How fired up. Her talent, her body, and her spirit were met with pain, silence, and betrayal in return. That college fan base is and how they follow, but instead of supporting her, they undermined her. Now that Caitlin is forced to find her own doctors and fight for her own health, we can't help but wonder, why wasn't she protected from the beginning? Is there a chance that the trust between Caitlin Clark and the people who are supposed to protect her career will break down? Caitlin Clark will consider going to Caitlin's meeting with her own doctors at this point is essentially implying that she's going to get her own doctors. Bro, and that's the right thing for Caitlin to do, because Indiana Fever cannot be trusted at this point. This isn't just about one injury. It's about a pattern, a system, and most importantly, trust that has been shattered. I don't blame her at all. If you agree with her and think Caitlin Clark deserves genuine love, care, and support, please leave a 100% positive review. For her, the WNBA is aware of what is taking place, and we will not remain quiet.